by email or phone number, or you can visit the website to see my upcoming webinars, justmathsacademy.com. So back to Kritika and the MCs.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Yalati. The topic you discussed was extremely helpful. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for this.
Welcome.
So thank you all for listening. And this calls for the end of our guest speakers. But don't worry, we have one more section, which is the Q&A session. So if you have any questions now, or if you had any throughout the presentation, you can still keep them coming in through the Google Docs form. And right now we will take some time to answer a couple that we have gotten so far. Okay, so I'll start off by reading the first few. And to our presenters, or our guest speakers, if this relates to your topic or anything you're familiar on or whatever you're expert on, feel free to chime in and answer them. So our first question was, does your transcript show middle school information as well as high school information?
I can take this. The high school transcript would only show like the language and math part. And I think it also shows physical science, but if someone else wants to like confirm that.
Okay, so if you get high school credits in middle school, it'll show up on your transcript. Usually it doesn't affect your GPA, but it'll just show what grade you got and the course you took. But if you didn't take any high school courses in middle school, then it wouldn't show up on your transcript.
Thank you so much. The next question is directed towards Mr. Ramprakash, and it says, could you please explain what going to a less competitive school means? I think they're referring to one of your bullet points on your presentation.
Sorry, could you repeat that real quick?
They were asking what you could, if you could like expand upon the point when you wrote going to a less competitive school, high school, could help your admission maybe.
I see. To be honest, that option isn't something that's really available to a lot of us, like Indian Americans that live where we live and coming in Alpharetta. I just included that point, and I honestly think perhaps Mr. Yaletti or Ms. Kim could elaborate more on that. But I included that point because I went to Georgia Tech with a lot of students, a lot of friends of mine who came from urban and rural schools more so. You know, they didn't have to have the best grades, best standardized test scores to gain admission. And it's just that, you know, if you're going to schools like Northview and South Forsyth, Lambert, where there are going to be a lot of competitive students just like y'all, and it's harder for, you know, your talents to come through that way. That's all I meant by that.
I can add more to that, Watson. So it is true that if you go to a less competitive high school, you are more likely to stand out. Your application is more likely to stand out. And that's backed by data. But at the same time, I would not recommend shifting from where you are to a less competitive school just because that's a college factor. Because, see, I think some of the, Watson as well as some of the others, Pranav and others alluded, high school is not just about getting college admission. High school is an important 4 years, important part of your life, right? So don't look at everything that you do in high school from a college admission viewpoint. It is an important consideration, absolutely, no doubt, but high school is also important. And so many students thrive when they are in an environment where they're challenged, right? So it depends on you as well. So if you go to another environment where you don't have the same options available, you're not challenged, your high school experience may not be the same. So, and also colleges again, this part is not backed by data, but colleges are smart. They can probably figure out if you just shifted for that purpose, right? So admission officer, ultimately they're human beings, right? They can look at it and see. So while what Watson said is factual, I wouldn't recommend moving just for that reason. And it's also socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Many reasons why certain schools have less SAT averages or grades are because of the specific socioeconomic backgrounds. So they will also look at the socioeconomic background. So just so differentiate between the cause and effect, right? So it is a factual statement, but not necessarily a cue to pursue. Hope that helps answer the question.
Yes, thank you so much.
Just to add one quick thing before we move on to a different topic. So colleges, admission standpoint, they're not going to compare Lambert versus a small school. They're going to look at each school as a different entity. They think that opportunity that all of you guys will have is a different. So they will definitely not compare Lambert versus some school where there's only 100 schools. So that's something that you wouldn't have to worry about. What you have to do, or you have to concern is that you have to just do your best at where you stand, from where you stand. So that's what it matters.
Miss Kim, I had a concern about that because doesn't Georgia Tech offer guaranteed admission for anyone who's a valedictorian, regardless if it's a competitive high school or not? So that means that they are comparing it, right?
That's a technical question. I'm not a admission officer from Georgia Tech, so that is still a question mark. It is a very good question, but I think that that's an extreme level where it says it's a guarantee. Even if you're valedictorian, many of my students are valedictorian, but that doesn't mean they're guaranteed to some school, because like many of the they're looking for many different aspects. So I think that's something that I cannot answer. But definitely they're going to look at each school as an individually different entity for sure.
Okay, I was just wondering because that's what I heard about Tech. Maybe not the other schools, but I heard like Tech does guaranteed admission for like valedictorians, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question mark. I don't know if Pranav, do you have any information about that?
Yeah, so no, you're right about that. I think they still do that, but the way I interpret that is actually they're not comparing between schools, right? Because if the valedictorian and the SAL of every like Georgia high school get automatic admission, then that's local to each school, right? Like it's the two best people from each school get automatic admission. So like if I'm the valedictorian of South Forsyth, I'm going to get in. But if I'm the valedictorian of a school elsewhere in Georgia that's not as competitive, I'm also going to get in. So if anything, I think your point is right, but I think it's illustrative of the fact that comparisons aren't being made between schools.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
Sanjana, I just wanted to add one thing real quick. Just going off what Mr. Yaletti said about the socioeconomic background, I was wondering whether to even include that bullet point in my slide or not, because to be honest, I think that there's more of an added benefit by going to the schools that y'all already do. The communities that we live in have the highest median incomes in the entire state. And, with that comes, just the people that you mingle with, the standards that y'all set for yourselves, the money that you can pay for SAT, tutoring and all that kinds of stuff. So, I probably should have left that off there. That's all I had to say.
No, that's okay, Watson. I think that what you mentioned is a factual statement. You just one needs to just interpret it correctly. So you don't want to move to the school just for because it gives you better chances of voting. Because high school is not just about college admission, and you need to make sure you're in an environment where you'll thrive.
Yeah, and just one more thing about the Hope and Zell Miller scholarships. I believe they are merit-based scholarships and not need-based scholarships. And you can see that, like at Georgia Tech, I think over 70% of newly admitted students actually come in with one of those scholarships, which is amazing. It's one of the best in the country. But then you look at a student like a university down south, like Albany State, you'll see that like 10% get in on that scholarship. And if you see which students are actually getting in with those scholarships, because they're merit based, it's about how well your grades are, not how much money your parents make. Oftentimes those kids are coming from the wealthiest neighborhoods as well, like Alpharetta and Cumming and Johns Creek and so forth. So it's just another thing I wanted to point out.
Thank you guys so much for like that in-depth conversation. So we actually, from this attendee, we have a couple of questions. I think we can take them one by one. When is the earliest you can take the SAT and ACT for colleges to accept it? And is early decision or regular decision preferred? And what is weighted GPA? I can repeat any of those if you need to, or one by one.
I can take a stab at those questions. So when is the earliest you could take SAT or ACT? So for college admission purposes, just technically, you can take any time you are in high school, 9th grade and up. Now, you could take in 7th or 8th grade for some of the talent identification programs such as Duke Tape, although Duke Tape is on pause right now, or Johns Hopkins CTY, etc. But they do not count towards college admission. Only what you take in the high school counts towards college admission. So earliest is 9th grade. It doesn't mean that every student should take in 9th grade, but it really depends on the student. So if somebody is really good in math and English and they can knock off the summer after 9th grade, you're done. But you can take a first time maybe after 9th grade summer, and then depending on your score, you can take one more after 10th. But typically the last time you want to take is 11th grade, end of 11th grade, or the summer after 11th grade maybe, because then I lead to the next question. The college admission process really you do in the fall and winter of the 12th grade senior year. So the early decisions and early admissions, you might start applying as soon as October and November. So you really don't have a lot of time for SAT and ACT during the 12th grade. You would want to finish it by 11th grade, although technically you have a little bit of time. You can still take in August or September if you're or if you're not doing early decision, early action, you can even take up to September and October. So the next question, I believe, Sanjana, is about the difference between early decision, early action, and the regular admission.
Yes, they were asking which one is preferred, early decision or regular.
There is really not, it's not about the preference, it's about, so first let's differentiate between early decision versus early action. Early decision is a binding decision, meaning you apply only for one college for early decision, because if you get it, you got to go there. Early action is non-binding. You can apply for as many as you wish, and it's not binding. You can go to either of them. So early action is useful if you know where you want to go, and so you are applying early, and there is generally a little less competition because not every student is applying for that. Whereas general application, there will be a lot more applicants. But early decision, you got to be a lot more careful.
Sorry to cut you. So it's not about college's preference. It's about, are you ready for early or not, right? Like I said before during my presentation, if you're ready to submit your application for early, that's good for you. That's better, because if you are not, if you submit your application for early and you don't have to worry, if you didn't get in, if you didn't get accepted for the early, your application will automatically go into the regular pool. So you have a peace of mind. So I think it would be practical and ideal if you get it ready for early. I think it's better for you. College is not going to prefer, they're not going to care if you go for early or regular. So it's all about, are you ready or not?
Miss Jenny, add on to that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this is true, but I've heard that if you apply to early decision, you can show colleges that you actually committing to them and you actually want to go there. I don't know how much that's true.
Right, decision. That's what the decision is. Decision means that let's say so you definitely want to pick one absolutely number one dream school for decision, because if you get in, you have to go. If you decide not to go, let's say you got in Yale and you decide not to go, it's binding. There is a financial penalty. So that's what the decision is. Early action, there is a choice. Let's say you apply 4 different colleges for early action. You can pick and choose, and they all accept you. You can pick and choose. There is no financial obligation. Decision means there is always financial obligation. So that's something that you have to
And
be aware of.
Just a question, around how much is the financial penalty if you don't do it?
I think every school is different. I think it's a certain percentage. I don't know. And every college is different. Is that right, Pranav?
Yeah, I should say I wouldn't think about it in terms of incurring the penalty. Like, let's just assume for like everyone's sake that early decision means you're bound to it. Like, I've never heard of anyone like skipping out on the commitment. And some people have extenuating issues, but usually the impression is like, if you apply ED and you get in, you're gonna go there. I don't even know, like there's probably something legal behind it too, if you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you want to think about whether is it absolutely my number one college, and if it comes, I would go there. But also you want to look at the fees there before applying, right? If it is a decision, because can I afford this, right? So you do want to consider carefully, and you just apply for one.
Yeah, I
If you're
heard
not
that
sure,
like
don't do.
yeah, sorry. I heard that like you should only apply for like early decision if you like really, really want to go there. Like if you truly want to go there, and like not just do it for like prestige, or like show them like oh yeah, I want to go to a top tier school, so like I'm just gonna apply for early decision so I might have higher chances to like show off. It should just be like if you truly want to go there, you should apply, right?
Right. It has to be genuinely my dream school. That has to be a decision school. So if you get in, you have to be ready to go in.
Right.
So that's the decision.
Yeah, that's why I never applied for any early decision. I only applied for early action. Yeah.
Good. Good.
So, Sanjana, go to the next question.
Yes, actually, we're going to be wrapping it up here, I think. We have a couple more, but we will get back to you guys through email possibly, because this has been running a long time, so I think a lot of people are trying to wrap it up.
Okay.
But yes, I'll pass it on to Sid to introduce our next person. Thank you guys so much for answering the questions. We have a couple more. Don't worry if you did submit any questions, we'll make sure to answer them. And as stated before, we might upload a doc with them answered on our Facebook page. So you will be able to see them there.
Awesome.
Sid, can you please share your screen?
Yeah, now it's time for our last presentation.
Yeah. So we welcome Mr. Swaminathan Annamlai. He's our GATS president. Swami, please join us to give us a thank you note.